Well, I've got to get to the studio. You know, our religion, our faith, has to address the environment, has to address the community, has to address issues of poverty. What are some of the things you liked about Chicago?
Oh, the Art Institute.
And one of the things I know that you and I share is Chicago.
This is true.
Really distinct goals. Our primary interest was in campaign finance reform, but we were also interested in election law and in civil union.
And better and cleaner politics in Oregon. Dan, good to have you on Speaking Frankly. You know, that's the thing is, we as human beings live together on this planet Earth.
Right.
We also live together in our societies, in our nations, in our communities. Welcome to Speaking Frankly. Well, here we are. We think we're about to have some real springtime, but and we've had several lovely, beautiful days, and now they've disappeared for a few days. But we still live in hope. Now today, I want to talk with an author that many of you know here in Yamhill County because he was our former county commissioner, Ted Lopuszynski.
How are you, Frank?
Welcome to Speaking Frankly.
Nice to be with you.
Well, it's wonderful. You were in that initial meeting 14 years ago when we Democrats met to talk about having a weekly television program.
I remember that. I got tired of the other guys having the airwaves all to themselves, completely saying their side of the story, and us being quiet in the background. And we decided to do something about it.
Well, you know, that's the thing. I think it's one of the great things about public access TV, that both the Republicans and the Democrats have a chance to air views on a regular basis for all the citizenry.
One thing that pleased me about your show, Frank, is that we early on decided we're going to be positive. We're not going to be attacking the other guys. We're going to say our piece, state our views, but allow the other side to say what they please.
Yes, and I think that's the beauty in a democracy where we've got freedom of speech and freedom of thought.
Exactly.
Now, I know that you came to this country sort of the long way around from Poland.
Yes, I did, Frank. I was born in Poland, and I have a map over here that shows you the route that I took. I was born in this part of Poland, which now is Ukraine. After World War II, the boundaries were shifted, and this part of Poland was taken by the Soviet Union, and now is Ukraine. When I was born, we lived on a farm. We were doing quite well, and then World War II came, and basically we lost our freedom. The Soviet troops one night deported us from our homes. They gave us 30 minutes to pack up and leave. We were packaged into the railroad cars. Most of the people in this part of Poland were removed, all the ethnically Polish people. We traveled for 3 weeks on the train in cattle cars, heading up towards the Archangel. During this trip, a lot of people died, some from starvation, some from cold, some from exposure. But one of them was my I had a set of twin brothers who were infants. He died and he was buried along the railroad tracks. My mother got burned with scalding water, and she never really recovered. When we got close to Archangel, they took us from the trains and put us in sleds and took us up to, I think that's Archangel. No, it's up here, excuse me.
Yeah.
Archangel. It was way up north of the Arctic Circle. The men and the women all the adults about the age of 12 had to work in the forests, and it was extremely cold, and our rations were very meager, and people were dying by thousands. In that shipment of people, there was about more than 250,000 people. What saved us is that my dad in Poland was half owner of a brickyard, and so the Russians find out that there was a brickyard in the area and told him to activate it. Where when you make bricks, there's heat, and so we were free now from the cold, the terrible cold that was in that area. Plus, we got a little better rations. Plus, we could trade with the natives who were away from the camp, and that saved most of our family. My mother did die about 6 weeks after we got there, and the other twin brother lived for about another 8 or 9 months, which is a miracle, without any milk, without any proper attention. When the Germany attacked Russia in June of 1941, Russians freed us. The Polish government, in exile in England, demanded that Polish people be freed and that the Polish army be formed down here in the south, in Uzbekistan. So we're freed, but we had no directions of where to go, how to get there. Those were some of the worst times, because as we traveled, sometimes by sleds, sometimes by train, sometimes walking, sometimes in the cars. We had to look out for themselves. And Dad, until he died, many times there were tears in his eyes when he described how he had to provide for us to live. Sometimes we went in the wrong direction. One time we were making real good time. We were on the train heading east for about a day and a half, making beautiful time until we find out
You're going in the wrong
direction.
Yes.
We're making good time going the wrong direction. So actually the whole family, we were approaching Ural Mountains at that time, the whole family, including my grandmother, had to jump out, and we zigzag, and it took us about a year and a half before we got to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. That's where the Polish army was being organized. There was an army of about 250,000 men, and the dependents followed them. At one point, the Allies, including the British, the Americans, and the Soviets and Poles, decided that the Polish army would be much more useful fighting in the Middle East against the Germans, so they allowed this Polish Second Corps of about 200,000 plus men to cross over, and they fought later in North Africa and then in Italy. The dependents stayed behind, and we lived in the displaced person camps in Iran, then Iraq, and then we went down to Lebanon and lived there. By that time the war ended, but we lived there for about two and a half years. Then we joined my dad, who by that time was in England, still in the Polish army, in 1948. I went by ship and joined them close to Glasgow. For a number of months we lived in the army camp, my dad and I, and that's not a good place for a young boy to be with a bunch of soldiers. But nevertheless, when Dad got a job, we moved down to southern part of England, and Dad worked as a bricklayer, and I was going to Polish schools. There was a Polish church and cafeteria, and actually I learned English as a foreign language in the Polish school in England.
In England?
Yeah, so that was an interesting mixture. When we decided to come to the United States in the 8th grade, I started going to the English 8th grade. It's the first time, and I was it was a little bit difficult, but as soon as they found out that I could play soccer pretty well, I was accepted.
Okay, now, when you came to the United States, where was the first place you came to?
When we came to the United States, we settled in Jeanette, Pennsylvania, close to Pittsburgh. And a Polish-American farmer sponsored us, but he was looking just for a single man to help him work on the farm, and he find out that Dad had a family, and he could not feed